welcome back to Learner's World. Today's video is People of World War I Part 2, so without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with Mata Hari. She was a Dutch dancer and courtesan. Mata Hari became a synonym for her. She was a female spy. She said, "My dance is a sacred poem in which each movement is a word and whose every word is underlined by music. The temple in which I dance can be vague or faithfully reproduced, for I am the temple." She was shot by the French on charges of spying for Germany during World War I. Herbert Henry Asquith. He was the first Earl of Oxford and Asquith. Asquith was a British statesman and Liberal politician who was Prime Minister of the UK between 1908 and 1916. Asquith said, "No one who has not been through it can know the chilly, paralyzing, deadening depression of hope deferred and energy wasted and vitality run to seed. I sometimes think it is the most paralyzing thing in my life." He played a major role in the design and passage of major liberal legislation and a reduction of power to the House of Lords. Marshal Foch, aka Ferdinand Foch. He was a Marshal of France and commander of Allied forces. He said, "A battle won is a battle in which we will not acknowledge to be lost." He spent 2 years at the Polytechnic School in Paris before entering artillery training school. Raymond Poincaré. He was a French statesman who served as president of the First Republic during World War I. When he served as prime minister in 1912, he largely determined the policy that led to the involvement of France in World War I. Poincaré said, "You hold in your hands the future of the world." In 1903, he left the Chamber of Deputies. He served until 1912 in the Senate. Herbert Kitchener, 1st Earl Kitchener. Kitchener was a British Army officer and colonial administrator. He came to prominence for his imperial campaigns, a central part with World War I, and involvement in the Second Boer War. Kitchener said, "You are ordered abroad as a soldier of the king to help our French comrades against the invasion of a common enemy. In this new experience, you may find temptations both in wine and women. You must entirely resist both temptations, and while treating all women with perfect courtesy, you should avoid any intimacy." Do your duty bravely, fear God, honor the king. Paul von Hindenburg. Hindenburg was a German field marshal during World War I. He was also the second president of the Weimar Republic. Hindenburg said, "It is impossible for our working people to maintain their full strength if they do not succeed in obtaining a sufficient supply of fat allotted to them on a proper basis." He was a cadet at the age of 11, serving in the Austro-Prussian or Seven-Week War in 1866. He served in the Franco-German War from 1870 to 1871. In 1911, he retired as general. Joseph Joffre. Joffre was a French general who served as commander-in-chief of French forces on the Western Front through the entirety of World War I. He is known best for regrouping the Allied forces to strategically defeat the Germans. Joffre said, "The German is the discipline of fear, ours is the discipline of faith, and faith will triumph." In the spring offensive during 1915, he fought to further the offensive in the Artois. Philippe Pétain. Pétain was a French general who became a national hero during World War I for his victory in the Battle of Verdun. He was made general at the age of 58. Pétain said, "Neither Germany nor Italy have doubts. Our crisis is not a material crisis. We have lost faith in our destiny. We are like mariners without a pilot." During World War II, he was the head of a collaborationist regime in Vichy, France. By the outbreak of World War I, he had achieved the rank of colonel. Albert I of Belgium. Albert I was the king of the Belgians from 1909 until his death in 1934. Due to his role in World War I, he's commonly referred to as Night King or Soldier King. He said it is indisputable that the blacks have benefited from certain benefits of civilization. Other than World War I, some of the other crucial events of his reign include the Treaty of Versailles, ruling the Belgian Congo, the reconstruction of Belgium, and the first 5 years of the Great Depression. Nikola Pasic. Pasic was a Serbian and Yugoslav politician. After the murder of Franz Ferdinand, Pasic was compliant in dealing with the formidable terms of the Austria-Hungary ultimatum to Serbia, but couldn't avert the declaration of war from Austria on Serbia. He remained prime minister of the government in exile through World War I. He also remained interested in the union of Serbia and provinces inhabited by the Serbs. Thomas Edward Lawrence. Lawrence was a British archaeological scholar, military strategist, and author. He is known for his legendary war activities in the Middle East during the First World War. Lawrence said the printing press is the greatest weapon in the armory of the modern commander. He was involved in the incipient Arab Rising. He lobbied independence at the Paris Peace Conference. Wilfred Owen. Owen was an English poet and soldier. He was a leading poet during World War I. Owen said, "My subject is war and the pit of war. The poetry is in the pity." His poetry was on the horrors of trenches and gas warfare. His work was much influenced by Siegfried Sassoon. Siegfried Sassoon. Sassoon was an English war poet, writer, and soldier. He was another leading poet of World War I. Sassoon said the dead are more real than the living because they are complete. His poetry described the horrors of the trenches and satirized the patriotic pretensions who, from his viewpoint, were responsible for the war. Later, he won acclaim for his prose work. Franz Conrad von Hötzendorf. Hötzendorf was an influential conservative propagandist of Austria-Hungary. He was also a controversial military strategist. He said, "God grant us war." He planned the Habsburg monarchy campaigns during World War I. Robert Graves. Graves was an English poet, historical novelist, critic, and soldier. At the start of World War I, he enlisted almost immediately. Graves said, "To be a poet is a condition rather than a profession." When he enlisted, he took a commission in the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Welsh Fusiliers as a second lieutenant. During the Battle of the Somme, he was badly wounded by a shell fragment. Alfred von Tirpitz. He was a German admiral and a chief builder of the German Navy for 17 years following World War I. He was ennobled in 1900 and achieved the rank of admiral by 1903. Von Tirpitz said, "This was or is really the greatest insanity in which white races have ever been enraged." Vittorio Emanuele Orlando. Orlando was a justice and interior minister between 1916 and 1917. Despite strong opposition, he implemented liberal policies. Orlando said, "Oratory is just like prostitution. You must have little tricks." He supported Italy's neutrality policy at the beginning of the war. During the conflict, he pledged to protect civil liberties. Ernest Hemingway. Hemingway was an American novelist, journalist, and short story writer. For World War I, he attempted to enlist, but was turned down for poor eyesight. Hemingway said, "But man was not made for defeat. A man can be destroyed but not defeated." In December 1917, he volunteered to a Red Cross recruitment effort. He signed up to be an ambulance driver for the American Red Cross Motor Corps in Italy. George V. From May 6, 1910 to 1936, he was King of the United Kingdom and British Dominions, as well as the Emperor of India. From 1914 to 1918, Britain and its allies were at war with the Central Powers. He said, "Always go to the bathroom when you have a chance." His paternal grandfather was Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. So he and his children also carried German titles such as Prince and Princess. Daniel Daly. He was a U.S. Marine and one of the 19 U.S. servicemen to be awarded the Medal of Honor twice. Daly said, "Any officer can get by on his sergeants. To be a sergeant, you have to know your stuff. I'd rather be an outstanding sergeant than just another officer." During World War I, he started out in France, November 4th, 1917. He was a first sergeant of the 73rd Company. Edward Isaac. He was a lieutenant in the United States Navy during World War I. He was a Medal of Honor recipient. From 1937 to 1947, he was the representative of California. Grey Faladon. His full name and title is Sir Edward Grey, 1st Viscount of Faladon. He was a British statesman and Liberal Party politician. Faladon said, "The lamps are going out all over Europe. We shall not see them lit again in our lifetime." He was the main force behind British foreign policy during the First World War. Sayyid Halim Pasha. He was a writer and statesman who served as the Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire from 1913 to 1917. He was accused of treason during the court-martial trials after World War I. In 1921, he was acquitted from the accusations and set free. He was soon after assassinated by Arshavir Shirakian in Rome. Constantine I was the king of Greece from 1913 to 1917 and again from 1920 to 1922. At the outbreak of World War I, he was insistent on neutrality. He said, "When he, Venizelos, is with me, I confess that his arguments are so convincing that I quickly begin to imagine that they are my own." And finally, Robert Borden. Borden was the 8th Prime Minister of Canada from 1911 to 1920. In 1901 to 1920, he was the leader of the Conservative Party. Borden said adequate protection is that which would at all times secure the Canadian market to Canadians and respect to all Canadian enterprises. During World War I, he initiated the formation of a coalition government. Well, that's all I have for today. I hope y'all enjoyed. If there's a topic you want explored further in a video, please leave it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Hope y'all have a great day.